Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Playmakers. What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be going through my start sits at the quarterback position. So going through every single starting quarterback and basically, going through whether or not I trust them in my lineup. I just want to give you guys a heads up that starting this week, through the end of the season, I'm going to be doing my weekly positional rankings on Thursdays for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So top 30 for wide receiver and running backs, and then top 20 for quarterbacks and tight ends. I'm just trying to put out as much content as possible to help you guys win these weeks for the playoff push. And then, once the playoffs actually start. So just stay tuned for those. Those are going to be coming out every Thursday. But let's just jump into the Thursday night matchup where we have the Cowboys taking on the Saints. And for the Cowboys, I'm going to be going with Dak Prescott as a start. I'm expecting him to have CeeDee Lamb back this week. He may not have Amari Cooper. Apparently, he is still experiencing symptoms from COVID. But we even saw on Thanksgiving, without CeeDee Lamb, without Cooper, Dak Prescott still balled out. And for the Saints, it looks like Taysom Hill may be getting the start this week. He's been getting QB1 reps in practice, but I do not believe Sean Payton has come out and fully declared him as the starter. If he starts, Taysom Hill is someone who 100% could have some fantasy value moving forward because of his rushing ability. I just need to see it for a week, before I trust him, because I do think it's a possibility that overall the Saints offense is just so bad. Even with that rushing ability, he still may not be able to perform because you still got to get into the end zone. If he's rushing, that's where the upside is, but he's got to get, those 6-point rushing opportunities, and I just don't know if he can get that on this Saints offense. So I'd rather just wait a week. And so this week it's going to be a sit. Moving on to Sunday, we have the Giants taking on the Dolphins. For the Giants, it looks like Daniel Jones is going to miss this week with a neck injury, and so that means Mike Glennon is going to get the start, and that means he should not be in any of your lineups. For the Dolphins, Tua's kind of always been on the fringe. He's actually played very well the last month, hasn't necessarily contributed to some really solid fantasy performances. He's always going to be on the fringe, but this week I ended up going with a sit for him. In the Colts Texans matchup, I'm going to be sitting at both of these quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, another guy who's always kind of borderline between a start or a sit. I did end up going with a sit just because I think it's very possible that the Colts get an early lead and they just run the ball through this Texans defense and really just are not going to rely on Carson Wentz a ton. For the Texans, I just don't need a huge explanation here. Tyrod Taylor should be in no one's lineups. In the divisional game between the Vikings and the Lions, I'm going to be starting Kirk Cousins from the Vikings. Just a very consistent option every single week this season. And then for the Lions, this one's a no-brainer. Jared Goff is definitely a sit. Eagles, Jets are up next. For the Eagles, Jalen Hurts coming off of his worst game of the season. The man looked terrible. We've kind of known all season long he's not a good passer. But for fantasy, he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks because he has that rushing upside. But if you go out there and throw 3 interceptions, that's going to tank your day, no matter how well you do on the ground. But I'm still going to fire him up again. This is a great matchup against the Jets, and he is still going to carry that rushing ability into every single game. For the Jets, it's pretty clear that Zach Wilson was not back to 100%. He's still kind of dealing with some issues with that knee. And really, no matter who plays quarterback here for the Jets, I want them on my bench. This next game is going to be between the Cardinals and the Bears. I would expect Kyler Murray to finally make his return. He's missed a few games, but they're coming off a bye, and I do think he was close to returning even before their bye week. So Kyler's going to be a start, one of the top fantasy quarterbacks overall. And then for the Bears, whether it's Andy Dalton or Justin Fields, I think you got to leave both of them on your benches. The next game is going to be between the Chargers and the Bengals, and I feel comfortable starting both of these quarterbacks. Justin Herbert has definitely been inconsistent, but when that offense is clicking, he can put together some monster games. Joe Burrow has been more of kind of a safe, conservative option. I just think this is going to be a fairly high-scoring game, and he's going to have to support that Bengals passing attack. So he's a start, probably like a fringe top 12 quarterback this week. This next game is a divisional matchup between the Bucs and the Falcons. For the Bucs, you still comfortably go out and throw Tom Brady into your lineup every single week. For the Falcons, you just really can't trust Matt Ryan with some of his recent performances. Then we've got the Jaguars taking on the Rams. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence sit every single week. For the Rams, I'm going to continue firing Matthew Stafford up into my lineup. We've definitely seen a dip in his production as of late, but he's still surrounded by some top talents, and this is a great matchup this week against the Jaguars, so I would still trust him in my lineups. Then we've got the Washington football team taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. For Washington, I'm going to be sitting Taylor Heineke. He has his games here and there. There's just not enough consistency there. For the Raiders, Derek Carr really had a bounce-back game on Thanksgiving. This is not a fantastic Washington defense, so I do think you could trust Derek Carr as like a fringe top 12 quarterback, high-end QB2. In a divisional game between the Ravens and the Steelers, I'm starting Lamar Jackson, even after his terrible 4-interception game. Can't really do anything else. We know he's still an elite quarterback, top 3 rest of season guy, so he's a start. Big Ben, just like every single week, is going to be a sit. Then we've got the 49ers taking on the Seahawks, and I'm sitting both of these quarterbacks. Jimmy G just has no ceiling on a week-to-week basis. Russell Wilson, that Seahawks offense has just been so bad, and until they bounce back, you really can't trust Russ in your lineups, so he's definitely a sit as well. Then in the Sunday night football game, we have the Broncos traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. For the Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater's a sit, no ceiling there. He's really just going to provide you a fairly low floor. And then for the Chiefs, even though Patrick Mahomes has definitely been struggling this season, you're still throwing him in as like a solid mid-tier QB1 every single week because he always has the potential to go off for like 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you just cannot have that sitting on your bench. And then for the final game of the week, Patriots Bills. For the Pats, even though Mac Jones has definitely looked really solid as of late, he's still going to be a sit for me here. And it's not really an indictment on his personal skills or his play. It's more of just the Patriots' overall system. If they don't need him to, throw the ball 30 plus times, they're not going to do it. They're totally content to establish the run, kind of rely on their defense, and you just can't trust them to put together, solid numbers on a week-to-week basis. Plus, this is a tough Bills defense. On the other side, with the Bills, Josh Allen, locked in start every single week. And that is going to wrap it up for this video. Every single week 13 matchup. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And then you can go check out my other start sits. Running backs and wide receivers were posted yesterday. The tight ends are going to be posted today. And then I'll have my weekly rankings coming out tomorrow. So thank you guys so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.